Hello, it's Saturday, February 5th, 2022. It snowed a few inches last night and we woke to a softly falling morning snow. By the afternoon, it's starting to melt off already, but it was fun to wake up to. It's been quite a week for me. Working with this week and a chapter from the Tao Te Ching, chapter 27. A traveler of this path leaves no footprints and no legacy, seeks no praise and issues no blame. Thus, everything and everyone around him is blessed. We do not blaze this path, we give ourselves to it and let it lead us where it will. In this way, we are open to all life has to give. This is the great secret, the heart of the Tao. No blame and open to all life has to give. We're in the process of getting ready to move. We're relocating our home, our living, to the southern Arizona desert, the Sonoran Desert area in Arizona. We'll probably leave around the end of April. Part of that preparation is to sell our motorhome. It's an old 2003 Winnebago motorhome. And I was in the process last week of getting it ready for sale. Take it up to Wairika, not far from here, and have the engine looked at and have a few minor repairs done. And I was backing it up and I backed it smack into a shed on the property here. What a horrible feeling, that thud and crunch. And I sat there in shock for a moment. What usually follows after that kind of an experience? In most of my life, doing something wrong is followed by a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, and a lot of self-blame. And I put wrong in parentheses there. When we're children, we learn way before we're conscious to adapt ourselves to our environment in the way that seems best for our own survival. Each of us do it a little bit differently. But all of us cover up our innocent child who has just emerged from the Tao with whatever persona we think will help us survive. For me, it was the good boy, the one who always did the right thing, who always was compliant, and who avoided at all costs doing the wrong thing. Well, of course, as life unfolds, you do all sorts of things that aren't what you think of as right. And our coping mechanisms are different throughout life. We're not always conscious of them. The trouble with the good boy is that he tries so hard to do the right things that he never relaxes. And when he does something that he's afraid is wrong, he'll evade and he'll rationalize and he'll make excuses. And long after we leave our parents and grow into our adult years, that process continues inside of us. And for me, it's always been covered over by anger. So I sat there in the driver's seat of that old Winnebago, feeling the shock, getting out and seeing that I damaged the old shed and probably totaled the motorhome. The whole back was caved in. Nancy wasn't home at the time. I gave her a text with, I forget what I said, some versions of, oh my God. And then I went inside and sat down and she got home. And most of the next 2 hours were spent with, I was actually crying as if I were 5 years old, saying, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And that was very cathartic for me. The reason I tell you this was an entirely different process for me. Most of the time, I mean, all of the time in something like this, the air would have been filled with invectives directed mainly toward the barn, me, the motorhome, the gods, the weather, whoever was in earshot, and it would have gone on for a long time. Then there would have been hours and days upon days upon days of self-blame, of regret, of rationalizing, of trying somehow to keep this poor little child protected. This time, because of the work I've been doing, of getting older, and because of the guidance of good people and good teaching like the Tao, my heart was open. There was never a moment of self-blame, never. It went directly from shock to profound sadness, to grief. And within a few hours, the grief had gone deep and real and cleansing, and I was free. That was about 5 days ago. Now the slowly grinding wheels of the insurance companies are doing whatever it is insurance companies do. And whatever happens will happen, and it will be taken care of. And we'll end up in Arizona and the end of April. That's our plan. And I feel free. I don't know how to explain to you the difference between doing something which seems so catastrophic as this event and not having mounds of self-blame and recrimination piled upon myself from myself. A traveler of this path seeks no praise and issues no blame. The little 5-year-old does not have to be a good boy. He can't do everything right. There are going to be accidents. There are going to be catastrophes. There are going to be ups and there are going to be downs. And letting go of the initially protective personas that were there to try to keep us safe, but end up isolating us and imprisoning us, leaves us free to truly feel what's happening. We are open to all life has to give. We give ourselves to it and we let it lead us where it will. This is the great secret, the heart of the Tao. Life led me into the side of an old shed. Life led the motorhome to end its days with a crunched rear end. And I'm open to it. That's the great secret, the heart of the Tao. And it never issues either praise nor blame. I, in being a child of the Tao, can be 5 years old for the rest of my life. Of course, I'm an adult, I'm an elder, I have responsibilities. But the little 5-year-old no longer needs to be protected by layer upon layer of personas and archetypes that end up making the world an unsafe place. The world right now, as you well know, is being run by archetypes that were formed when people were 4 and 5 years old. The world is being run by 5-year-olds protecting themselves with whatever masks, whatever personas, whatever archetypes they've managed to pull into place. And only when those old archetypes are let go of, those old personas are dissolved, and true natures are revealed, can we allow things to arise and fall, tears to come and tears to go, never a hint of blame. That's one of the advantages of growing older, at least the way I've experienced it. I don't have to protect those little children so much anymore. Or I protect them in a far different way than the not so effective ways that I adopted when I was 5 years old. And what's left is a deeper sense of freedom than I've ever felt before. A much deeper freedom than the good boy, bad boy duality can afford. Can you give yourself to your experiences with no trace of blame? You don't have to do it right. Everything that happens can be one more step into joy and into peace if we stop trying to protect ourselves from sadness and loss and grief. There are far more profound reasons for grief than the bashing of an old motorhome. But the process is the same. We don't need the protection because we don't have to be something. We just are. And we're always free to experience all that life has to give. That's the great secret. That's the heart of the Tao. I hope your experiences are beautiful and joyful today. If they're not, I hope whatever goes on inside of you is pure and clean and burns brightly and briefly and then passes away. It's nice to be with you. I'll see you in a few days.